We bought our first truck in 1950. And to be honest with you, we knew very little about firefighting or fire equipment or fire trucks. We didn't know how to operate it. Some of us went to school up in New Jersey for about a week.
Bring up a how we raised the funds.
That'd be perfect.
We'll do it now.
Have fun.
We had to go around begging, borrowing, and stealing. And we had good results. We bought a new truck for 54. And we had the money to pay for it when we brought the truck home.
Sounds like a lot of good community support, even in the early days then.
And we divided up, we went from house to house when we first started. We divided up the routes among the farmers. And we went to one place, and I'm not going to call his name. We went to one place, and he said, no, I don't help things like that. And we thanked him, give him a card. Don't you need us, call us. So 3 or 4 weeks after that, his house caught on fire. We went down, put his house out, invited us in for ice cream and cake, give us $20, and as far as I know, he paid $20 as long as he lived, a year.
Say that when I was chief, at that time your response for getting firemen out, we took the calls in the house, and then we put it over to a radio, which was manned in the house 24 hours around the clock until we get the central dispatch. And also, we were the first company to have a colored fellow as a fireman, and we was also the first company to have a lady as a fireman.
One of the things that started this company, I think, was of course, the county was the only one that, Augusta County, the only one that had all this area they couldn't cover. They come down here one morning going to, as far as I think it was, to a chimney fire right here, and a train hit the fire truck and killed one of the firemen. That's one thing that stuck in our minds to get some equipment here. And that was, of course, several years after that, before we got that started, but that's one of the things that happened, that the man got killed before we realized we needed something real bad.
Well, and I imagine also that it did take quite a bit of time, as Chief Weaver had mentioned, it took quite a bit of time for them to respond to a call out here.
Oh, well, and the roads that we talk about, they don't have interstate roads come like we did now. And it was what we call C&W, curving and weeding. and that's the way you had to go. After we got started, one of the firemen, we got called and asked him for assistance. And coming over here, he lost his pump, his portable pump, out the back door. He hit one of those bumps and throwed it off the truck. So you know what kind of roads we were talking about.
You know, you hear it often, why is this company do such a good job, and why another company doesn't do a good job? Well, I really think leadership is the answer to that question. Not only is it true in business, it's true in the fire department. Your company your members will be no better than their leader. So if you're here at Stuarts Draft, you cannot drink. Not only, I've heard people say, well, a certain fire company was out at our place, and boy, you could smell drink, and you know what, that makes a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Right, I don't think the public would actually appreciate something like that, right?
Right. But I think if you've got a top leader, one that knows how to handle men or women, whichever they may be, I think you'll have a successful fire department. Everything isn't smooth. When you have a bunch of people together, you're going to have differences of opinion, but you need to go to those people, maybe on an individual basis, that differ with you, and work those differences out, and not let them boil and come to a head further down the line.
Right, so that it doesn't. You're up now.
Going back to where the company first started, we moved into the area in 1950, and I realized that's when the department started. And of course, I was just a little fellow then, but it always fascinated me to see the
trucks go down the road. Never once did it ever dawn on me that I'd be chief of that department. And then in 1966, the daytime help was real crucial. And JohnW.Forbes was the chief then, and he recruited or needed more help, so they came to the Amish auxiliary or to the Amish Mennonite church for daytime help, which for most of those were farmers at that time. So there were times that I was down here in Stuarts Draft, maybe with the farm tractor, getting feed or whatnot, and Johnny would get the calls on telephone at his shop. Well, when he came out through Stuarts Draft with his car and he'd see us on the street, he'd stop and pick us up. There was no excuse not to go along, because he said, get in and go. So that's the way we sort of got involved. And I took my first training in 1966 in Stanton. And that basic training is still one of the best things that was ever taught, because it still stands, it still works. Then, of course, over the years, I think it was in 1971, our shop burned down due to lightning, and I was ever so glad to see somebody come and help. And from then on, that's when I really got active in the department. I think I was the first one that got a monitor to monitor the calls, and normally we just depended on, if we heard the siren, we went, and if we didn't go. And then, of course, as the radio equipment got improved, I think we, if I'm not mistaken, our company was the first one to have a telephone out at the county firehouse. So we have a better, well, it's covered better.
Better response time and everything.
Right. So it just went from one to the other, and of course we kept increasing and getting better radios, and started getting the pagers. That really helped, because when the call goes out now, everybody hears it at one time. So if a person wants to get to the fire first, you better get out and go. That was one thing that stuck in my mind from Mr. Forbes, because he was always there first. Because he got the call first. And it really made an impression on me, was the point that when we got there, he always knew where he wanted each man. And it was very effective. And that's the same philosophy that I've been trying to use this day, but it sometimes gets a little rough.
I was talking about the siren. I understand that it was obtained from it was an old World War II air raid siren that came from down Norfolk, Newport News area. Going back to the fire rim, though, or the rim off of the old steam engine that Ralph talked about. I understand that when this was Ralph's father's produce house burned, and it spread to a store operated by Sam Shaner, and then onto a house by that was occupied by Mr. Herman Harris. And I understand that Mr. Harris said that he grabbed an axe and ran across the street to sound that old alarm, and someone saw him running across the street and thought that he had been the one that set the fire, so they got a gun and was out getting ready to shoot him. And I understand that somebody stopped him and kept the guy from shooting him, because he didn't set the fire. He was just trying to go sound the alarm. But Ralph was mentioning the siren there too, and I remember being told that there was a salesman who used to come around to the garage there at Uncle Johnny's and Clifton's at the garage. And he was bringing a new trainee around with him one day, and he told the trainee, he said, one thing about Stuarts Draft, says you better remember, says when you come into Stuarts Draft, said if you hear that alarm sound, said get out the way, because says these people will run over you getting to the firehouse. And so we've always responded to the alarm, regardless of what time of day or night it sounded.
What we used, and everybody stopped what they were doing and went down, because all you could do was get the people or get the furniture out of the house.
Yeah.
Now that's all you could save, and we called Augusta County, but you were down to almost ashes till they could get out here.
Yeah, kind of like as you mentioned earlier, and then maybe elaborate a
I thought
little
you
bit.
might want to put that in, and then
Oh, sure.
then the fire department the fire building was put across from the hatchery down there, and Mr. Cuban, who did the side of it, we had a night man at the hatchery. So usually we took the calls, but other people's phone that was on the same line, like Johnny, and they could hear that phone ring.
Rob, this sounds fine. Why don't you mention that? And again, I can put this right back in anywhere y'all want it. I'll put this right back in.
How many phones were hooked up on that line at one time? Wasn't it
At least three.
Oh man, we had
That was a party line of 7?
Oh, yeah, party line.
Yeah,
That was a-
Yeah, party
The
line.
hatchery.
one down at Johnny's, one at the hatchery, one at Ward Lee's, and one at Ward Lee's store,
And
one
one
at the
at
firehouse.
and
One at Cuban.
one at my house and one at Mr. Cuban's. But the,
Buck had
the
one
night
on.
man would go over from the hatchery,
Yeah.
see, and pull the siren.
On Saturday.
We got the siren about, what, first or second year? We bought that from New York, didn't we?
Oh, you got it down in, all part of, Norfolk, down in there.
It's an old air raid siren, World War II air raid siren, still up on top of the
I
building.
went three or four places, and I wasn't sure which one we,
Yeah, that's, you got it down there.